Welcome back to The Explainer. Let's get right into it, because today we are tackling an absolute monster of a topic. If you've ever dreamt of studying abroad, you probably already know the daunting reality. It really isn't just about packing your bags and cracking open a textbook. No, it is a grueling, complex gauntlet of applications, financial proofs, and just endless paperwork. But don't worry, in this Explainer, we're going to master this timeline together. We're looking at the exact mechanics of what it actually takes to get from just dreaming about a program to physically setting foot on campus.
So, the big overarching question we're starting with today is this: what does it take to secure your spot on the global academic stage? And we aren't just talking about getting good grades here. We're talking about completely decoding the massive bureaucracy of global education. We're going to break down the exact processes using real-world examples from institutions and governments all around the globe. To keep us on track, we're going to follow a really clear, logical timeline today. First, securing your spot. Second, funding the dream. Third, crossing the border. And finally, preparing for arrival.
All right, Phase 1, securing your spot, specifically admissions and merit. Getting accepted is obviously your first big hurdle. And what's super fascinating is how wildly different this evaluation process can look depending on the specific program and the country you're applying to. Just take a look at this staggering number, 7,000. This represents the literal apex of medical training. Over at the Barrow Neurological Institute in the US, there are over 7,000 neurosurgical procedures performed every single year. We're talking everything from brain to spine, simple to incredibly complex cases, happening across 11 dedicated operating rooms and 2 neuroendovascular suites. And here's the kicker. This unbelievable volume provides the hands-on educational foundation for a team of just 28 outstanding residents. It's a highly exclusive, heavily camaraderie-driven environment, where securing a spot means proving you can handle an incredibly intense, immersive, and practical workload.
Now let's totally shift gears. Let's contrast that intense, hands-on US residency with a very different type of academic rigor. These strictly formulaic undergraduate merit calculations at Quaid-e-Azam University, or KAU, over in Pakistan. Here, securing your spot is literally a numbers game based entirely on prior academic performance. For the regular BS programs and the PharmD program, your merit is calculated with a heavy 70% weight given to your higher secondary school certificate, or its equivalent, and 30% to your secondary school certificate. There's no subjective interview here, no holistic essay review. It is a rigid, percentage-based gatekeeper to admission.
And this brilliantly illustrates how, even within the exact same university, the hurdles can completely change depending on your path. While the BS and PharmD programs rely entirely on your previous schooling marks, law is a different story. If you want to apply for the LLB program, your previous schooling only accounts for 70% of the total calculation. You're faced with an extra hurdle: the Law Admission Test, or LAT, which is mandated by the Higher Education Commission. You've got to score at least a 50 on this external standardized test, and it makes up 30% of your total merit calculation. So it just goes to show that knowing your specific program's exact formula is truly the only way to effectively secure your spot. Moving right along to Phase 2, funding the dream, scholarships and acceptances. Okay, so you fought hard, and you secured your spot. Awesome. Now, how do you pay for it? Funding isn't always as simple as just asking for money. It requires some real strategy. Take the Chinese government scholarships, or CSC, as a prime example. A major strategy for navigating this process involves actively managing and utilizing multiple university acceptance letters. It basically becomes a strategic game of leverage. Having more than one acceptance letter can dictate exactly how you apply and really optimize your chances of securing that vital funding. It's not just about getting in, it's about using your acceptances smartly to fund your global education. Next up, Phase 3, crossing the border, visas and bureaucracy.
Assuming you've been accepted and you have your funding locked down, this is usually where dreams hit the hard, cold wall of international law. We're going to look closely at the United Kingdom's points-based system as basically our masterclass in visa bureaucracy. The Tier 4 visa is the primary route for international students coming from outside the European Economic Area. But definitely notice the crucial caveat at the end of that definition. It requires a sponsor with a Tier 4 license. You can't just get accepted to any random school and move to the UK. No, your educational institute absolutely must be on the UK government's official register of licensed sponsors.
And this builds into a very specific, totally mandated pipeline. Step 1, you must have an unconditional offer from one of those licensed sponsors. Step 2, you obtain a CAS.
Step 3, you submit your online application to UK Visas and Immigration. And finally, Step 4, you have to register with UKVI's commercial partners in your home country. Literally every single international student outside the EEA has to walk this exact path.
Now, I really want to loop back to Step 2 for a second, because the CAS, the Certificate of Acceptance of Studies, is the absolute cornerstone of this entire legal process. Universities do not just hand these out the second you're accepted. Oh no. Before they issue your CAS, the university themselves will act as a gatekeeper, double-checking your eligibility to make absolutely sure you actually meet the stringent requirements of the visa process.
And the absolute biggest hurdle they're checking for, you guessed it, the finances. To clear the visa stage, you need concrete, undeniable proof of what the UK calls maintenance funds. And this isn't just your tuition. This is a strict requirement proving you have enough liquid cash to cover your course fees plus your living costs. On top of that, you've got to pay a two-part fee, the online application fee itself, and an immigration health surcharge, which is calculated based on exactly how many years you're seeking the visa for. If you cannot prove these funds, the pipeline stops dead in its tracks.
Which brings us to our final phase. Phase 4, preparing for arrival, landing and settling in.
Okay, so you've navigated the merit formulas, you secured the funding, and you somehow conquered the visa system. Now you face the final step. And to introduce this phase, let's inject a little cultural flavor, Papierkram. It's this wonderful German word that simply translates to paperwork. If you're an international student heading out to study in Germany, this is a word you're going to hear constantly. Because getting the visa isn't the end of the paperwork. Honestly, it's often just the beginning of your pre-departure preparations. Using the German study experience as our guide here, there are a few universal pre-departure steps that pretty much every international student faces. You need to set up your health insurance, finalize your proof of financing, and, prepare for the weather. Bringing a good jacket is just a practical must. But crucially, you absolutely must prioritize finding accommodation in advance. As the sources point out, relying on short-term housing when you first arrive is notoriously expensive. Securing your room before your plane even touches down is a massive financial and logistical advantage.
But beyond all the physical Papierkram and logistics, there is a very human element to this timeline that we just can't ignore. One student asked a truly profound question: how can I prepare myself emotionally to start in a new country? We spend so much time obsessing over merit calculations, maintenance funds, and Tier 4 sponsor registers that it is so easy to forget the immense emotional weight of packing up your entire life and moving across the world. Preparing your mind and your emotions for this massive life transition is just as critical as preparing your paperwork. We've definitely covered a lot of ground today in this explainer. From the 7,000 surgeries at Barrow to the strict percentages at QAU, the strategic funding of CSE, the rigid borders of the UK, and of course, the Papierkram of Germany. The systems are complex, yes, but they are entirely navigable. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on. The world is accepting applications right now. Armed with this understanding of the global timeline, where will your education take you? Thanks so much for watching, and keep learning.